Okay, I think everything should be good to go. Last week I forgot to double check my mic, so I was using my new webcam mic and not the mic that's in front of me. So hopefully today sounds much better than last time. Population growth and geomath. Oh, and Clawpaw. Welcome aboard, everyone. Good to see you all. Let's see here. So population growth requested the Barlgura. And let's see what else we got. Geomath said maybe the Dark Tide Knight since it has uncanny dodge, which I don't know what to do with it. And then Clawpaw, how about the Coatl? It's in the monster manual and somehow doesn't feel like a CR4. Or did you have that one already? Coatl. That's the angelic flying serpent, right? I did do that one. I believe that's the one, if I'm thinking about it correctly. Let's see. Before we get into it. Coatl. Nope. K-O. C-O. I guess not. Let me double check something on my side. I have a new setup finally, so things are going a lot smoother for me. And let's see here, my filters. Everything seems to be good. I think I'm just spelling it wrong. Reset all of that. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's how you spell it. Okay. C-O-U-A. There we go. Yes, it's an older video, and I can certainly go over if we like. And just to cover a few things, because I'm sure I have some updated ways of looking at the Coatl too. So we can definitely look at that. Yeah, C-O-U-A-T-L for the Coatl. Yeah, okay. All right, let's see. So we have requested, what was it? Barlgura, the Dark Tide Knight, and the Coatl. All right. All right, everyone, let's jump right into this. Again, before we jump right into this, I got a new setup. My mom and my stepdad had bought a small computer monitor for their home so they could try and watch some of their security cameras and whatnot they had just installed. But unfortunately, for whatever reason, the computer monitor wasn't taking on the image from the thing from their receiver box. So they ended up giving me the monitor because I could use it with my computer. And I used to have two screens a long time ago. So finally, I'm back to two screens again, and I can do some stuff on the side while I do stuff on the right here. And as always, I forgot my mouse highlighter as well. Okay, now with that out of the way, let's jump into some of these deconstructions then. So first we will go with Barlgura, if I had that correctly again. Let me see here. So real quick, let's take a look at my side here. Let's see. Barlgura, there we go. Fiend, Monster Manual, page 5. Oh, yes. Do I have that one too? Let me see. I'm really curious. That looks so familiar. Nope. All right. I must not have done this one. That's fine. Very cool. So we can take a fresh look at this one here. So that is a 5. And it's supposed to be Monster Manual, page 56. Cool. All right. Let me grab the book here, Monster Manual. All right. And what did I say? That was 56, so probably 57. Sure enough, Barlgura. And let's see here. Okay, cool. Let's go back to the tool and adjust a couple things so I can see what's going on here. All right, excellent. All right, so we have the Barlgura, a large fiend. And let's see here, so we'll throw that in for the size. And the expected CR is supposed to be a 5. Excellent. With 15 AC, a 8d10 hit dice, and then we have 18 strength, 15 dex, 16 constitution, 7 intellect, 14 wisdom, and 9 charisma. And that's it for the base information. Oh, no one sees it. Okay, hold up. What's going on? Oh, how did that go back? I thought I had swapped that over. Oh, technical difficulties with all the new stuff that I have, all the toys and whatnot. All right, everyone can see it now, right? Should be good. There is a little bit of latency, so it should be catching up to you now. All right, looks like my live is showing the right screen now. All right, cool. So, to recap, since unfortunately you couldn't see the screen, we have the Balgura, Large Fiend. So we have the 15 AC, 8 hit dice, all the stats here of 18, 15, 16, 7, 14, and 9 for that stuff there. Should be a CR5. Oh, D&D Honeys. Welcome aboard. Thanks for joining the live stream. If you have any requests for monsters that you'd like to see exposed for the CR, by all means, add them onto the list. I already have 3 so far from everyone else, but definitely like to do any ones that you have favorites for. All right, so we have all of the base information out of the way here. So let's take a look at our monster skills area from saving throws to challenge rating 5. Now, the Balgura does have a 2 saving throws of Dex and Constitution, but because it's only 0 to 2, we won't bother modifying the saving throws at all, and we won't get any bonus from there. The Balgura does have skills, but they don't matter for the CR, so we can skip over that. But it does have damage resistances to cold, fire, and lightning. So because it's 3 conditions, and I'm pretty sure there's like this little section in the book that says at least 3, we'll go ahead and throw in damage resistances here. Oh, thanks, D&D Honeys. I'm really glad you guys are enjoying it. I got a chance to catch the one video that you have there, as you saw with the mini unboxing. It was fun. I don't pick up the minis, but I do enjoy painting my own. Okay, so we have resistances for the Balgura, which will give us a 50% more hit points because of those resistances. So this is definitely not a friend to casters because of the cold, fire, and lightning, and any additive damages as well. But we do also have damage immunities of poison, but because it's only 1 condition, we skip over that. We need at least a minimum of 3 to use that for calculating extra hit points and whatnot. And then there's also condition immunities and the rest of this information, but we don't worry about that. It doesn't matter. So we'll skip over that. Actually, I wanted to do this as well. Oh, shoot, I can't do that. Okay, good to know. I was going to do full screen, but then, yeah, I can't do full screen because I split the screen too. Okay. So next, we'll move down into the monster traits here, and we have innate spellcasting, reckless, and running leap. So for innate spellcasting, we have, let's see. All right, no daily ones. We have 1 day and 2 day each for entangle, phantasmal force, and disguise self, invisibility, self only. All right, some of those are probably going to be pretty good. Entangle for sure, Phantasmal Force maybe, and an Invisibility obviously, but because it takes an action to cast, it won't be as potent as the Superior Invisibility. So we're going to skip over the innate spellcasting for the time being, and we'll come back to that if the CR isn't looking correct. Like if it's overrated, then we'll come back to this section here. So we'll move down into Reckless next. And Reckless, the Balgura gains advantage on all melee attacks, but it also takes disadvantage just like every Barbarian. And ironically enough, if you were to go into the custom monster section for the DMG and you look at Reckless, there's actually a dash. It takes no effect on the CR, even though the Balgura is gaining advantage, but also getting a disadvantage or getting advantage against it. So there's a trade-off here, and I guess they pretty much level the playing field for Reckless because of the advantage both sides are getting against the Balgura. So we can skip over that. And then lastly, we have running leap. The Balgura's long jump is up to 40 feet, and its high jump is 20 feet when it has a running start. So that just increases the run and, increases the jumping range for the Balgura. And surprisingly enough, besides innate spellcasting, nothing else is really going to modify the CR 4 or 5 for the Balgura. So let's move into the action section, and if we have to, we'll come back to the spell section later. And let's see here. The Balgura has a multi-attack of 3 attacks, 1 with its bite and 2 with its fists. So let's take a look at what we have for our bite and fists. Luckily, both weapons, or both attacks here, have a +7 to hit. So we'll come over here to the side in our offensive section and add in that +7, which will already bring the OCR red here down a couple steps because it's already much higher than expected. But we'll see what happens once we get to the actual damage here. And we'll take a look at the bite. And the bite here, we have 2d6 +4. So we can go ahead and pop that in here, 2d6, and then +4 from strength for a total of 11. And then on top of that, we also have the fist, which is 1d10. We'll go ahead and switch that to a d10. Also, plus the strength for 4, giving us 9.5 points of damage. Even though we don't see that 0.5 here, we still have to keep that into account for multi-attacks like this one here. So we have our 2 attacks set up, and we have a multi-attack. So we'll go ahead and we'll add in the multi-attack here of the 1 bite, plus 2 of the fists. And we get a total of, oh, what did I do wrong? Oh, I added an extra plus sign. We get a total of 30 damage per round from the Balgura's multi-attack. So, unless we're going to cast spells, which for the time being right now just base, we're going to look at only the physical damage that the Balgura can do. We'll do this every round of combat. So, let's see here. This will just be the multi-attack times 3 rounds of combat. I'm saving time by not bothering to put 30 in each of these and just multiplying it by 3 because the full attack will just divide everything by 3 and round it down anyways. And we get a 90, and surprisingly enough, we have a CR 5 already. Let me catch up with chat here. Yep, Joe Math has the DPR at 30, which is perfect, and population growth. What's your thoughts on magic items for low-level players? See, I've been doing this stuff so long now that I don't mind giving my low-level players magic, but I tailor it in a way that I know it's going to control the power creep or the power curve, or however you want to look at it. So my players in my Sunday game right now are only level 6, and that's getting into the second tier of play. But before they hit level 6, I was giving them small modifications. Like I gave them a custom homebrew for let's see here, like +2 to a skill or +1 to one of their stats. I even gave one of them like a bonus to like advantage on 1 death saving throw. And then on top of that, for their weapons and armor, for the weapons, I would add in like a D4 of some kind of elemental damage. So my one ranger, he got a bow that could now shoot plus D4 of frozen damage or cold damage. So I really modify things a little bit to not let them get crazy overdone with power. Yeah, I mean, if they're with the bag of holding, if the bag of holding isn't being abused in most cases of like, oh, I'm just going to stuff a player in there and then I'm going to throw the bag up and over into a window and going to, have the player pop out of the bag, provided it's being used for the intended reasons of like storing a whole bunch of gold and equipment and whatnot. I don't have a problem with the bag of holding. It's just when they get creativity is fine. It's when they start to abuse that creativity. So if they're going to continue to use stuff them in the bag and do this repeatedly over and over again, that's when we're like, all right, let's not do this too often. We call it kidnapped. Yes, there you go. So yeah, with the kidnapping. All right, so back to the Balgura. So right now, with the Balgura, base alone, just the physical damage, we have a CR 5. We have an accurate striker because our base OCR here is a OCR 4, and then with its modifications of 7 attack bonus, it ups it just a little bit. So we got a good spot here where the defenses are just a little bit lower than the offenses, and because of that whole, we average this out to be a 9. We add these up, this is a 9, and then averaged out it's 4.5. It'll round up to a 5. Hey, talking about magic items, have you thought about CRing magic items? it's crossed my mind. I'm actually working on something close to that Clawpaw that I'm going to start talking about pretty soon once I start working it into what I want to do here. So it's something close to that, but I was thinking about looking into those sorts of things as well. But good eye on that. It's pretty hard to calculate for magic items. Oh, I'm sure. That's why I'm curious to see how to work it out and make sure like the uncommons are right and the commons are and so far the rare and whatnot. All right, so let me take a look at one more thing before we move on from the Balgura here. I wanted to see about the spell Entangle and what level that is. All right, Entangle is a first level spell. All right, so most of you know my spell average chart here, and let me just show you real quick. This is my spell average chart. And these are all the averages of every spell that does damage. And when we get to something like this right here, this is the average of all the spells at level 1 for level 1 spells. So the average for a level 1 spell is 10. And because Entangle itself is a controlling spell at level 1, effectively, this would be dealing 10 effective damage per round per target hit. So Entangle, what? Entangle does 2, right? Grasping weeds and vines sprout from the ground. All right, so yeah, we would expect like 2 people trudging through the Entangle. And that would up it to about 20. And does it do? It doesn't do any damage. It just restrains them. So there is a way to get some extra, some extra defenses out of the Balgura here if we wanted to throw down Entangle. But you can only get it once, so it may not be the best. It could potentially work, and it could modify or keep the Balgura at a CR5, but I have a feeling that this Balgura is pretty much set at CR5. All right, so I'm going to take my notes there for the Balgura, and we'll leave this monster at a CR5. I will definitely take a look at this later when I get to the shorts version of it and play around with the numbers to see if the Entangle modifies it at all. But for the time being, I'm going to say this is effectively an even rated monster. And my note will be check Entangle and or Invis for modifications. All right, and let's see, going back to CR dashes. Let's see here. Let's see what else we got here. Joe Math, I have a list sorting most of magic items by rarity. Yes, you can just ignore spells. Just ignore the spells. Yeah, more than likely, not a lot of these are going to help out. And then D&D Honeys. Yeah, I feel like magic items can be hard to balance, especially if you're like me and don't love times per day mechanics. Yeah, the times per day can be another tricky thing. Especially like when we see this all the time with the monsters too. Like, oh, we can do it once per long or 2 or 3 times per short rest. It can be interesting to say the least. All right, next is the Dark Tide Knight. And that, I believe, was that the Princess of the Apocalypse there? Yes, Princess of the Apocalypse. Okay. And let me pull that book up. What else we got? One thing I'll do is add a setback, like your flaming sword gets hot and burns you too after a few swings. That's actually a pretty handy little setback to have with a flaming sword. I like that. That's a good idea. And Joe Math, I recommend also to give cages to indicate concentration. I think oh, are you talking like which spells on the list would be concentration spells? Joe Math? 205 for that, so this should be 206. Dark Tide Knight. Okay, so this is going to be a split page one, unfortunately. Like Wall of Fire. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's a pretty good way of looking at that. I like that. And then D&D Honeys, hey, if you have time, we'd love to see how the Dragonelle holds up to its CR of 13 because it kind of seems pitifully weaker than that. Dragonelle. Okay. Yeah, I'll throw that on the list here too as well. Let's see. Okay. And that one is a 2 FTD. Cool. Prince of the Apocalypse. This is 205, and that should be a CR3. All right. Clawpaw, just a bit of backlash damage. How about exhaustion, corruption, reducing scores, etc.? Clawpaw's going for the throat. All right, let's take a look at this Dark Tide Knight. Let's see here. Back to my tool. We'll reset the tool and go from there. All right, so we have a medium humanoid with AC 13, 98. Oh, let me not do that there. 98 hit dice, should be a CR3 like I mentioned before, with the following stats of 17 strength, 16 dex, 14 constitution, 10 intellect, 11 wisdom, and 11 charisma. Okay, with that out of the way, we have nothing in the skills area to worry about, and we can actually move down into the monster trait section. And the first one we have is Bonded Mount. The knight is magically bound to a beast with an innate swimming speed trained to serve as its mount. While mounted on this beast, the knight gains the beast's senses and abilities to breathe underwater. The bonded mount obeys the knight's commands. If the mount dies, the knight can train a new beast to serve as its mount. Process requires a month. Wow, that's a long time. And a lot of talking to basically say no effect. The cool thing is you can get underwater breathing, but that on itself does nothing for our CR here. So we can skip over Bonded Mount and move right down into Sneak Attack. The knight deals an extra 7 damage when it hits a target with a weapon attack and has advantage on the attack roll, or when the target is within 5 feet of an ally or the knight that isn't incapacitated. All right, so same idea as the rogue. We can then add in an extra 7 damage. So let's see here. I don't know. Do I have a sneak attack? I don't have anything like that normally. So we'll go ahead and in the extra damage section here, we'll just add in. We'll expect to get sneak attack every round of combat. And with every round of combat, if this knight has the ability to gain advantage or is within 5 feet, just like any rogue would do, we'll get an extra 7 damage per round of combat on top of everything else. So that should be good there. And then we've got, let's see here, the actions of, well, actually, that's everything for the monster traits. So we can move into the action section now. And we have a multi-attack. The knight makes 2 short sword attacks. All right, so let's take a look at what we have here. We have short sword and lance, both of these at +5 to hit. So we'll go ahead and do that there. Let me see here. Oh yeah, you're right. Ooh, I did not take that into consideration, Joe Math. Good pointing that out. Inspiration to Joe Math. So yeah, that's every attack. Wow. Yeah, you're right. The rogue is limited to once per round. Ooh, that is dirty. All right. Well then, so then we would expect this damage here to be 14 instead, because we're going to do a short sword attack twice. So let's do that instead. We'll modify that and then come back to changing that if need be. All right, so then we have our +5 to hit, and we have the short sword at 1d6 +3 from strength or dex. It doesn't really matter, but since it's more of a finesse weapon, we'll just do that. Well, yeah, it doesn't matter. It's both going to work out to be the same. And then the lance is 1d12 +3 as well for 9.5. And we also have uncanny dodge. When the attacker the knight can see hits it with an attack, the knight can have the damage against it. Okay. How would we deal with uncanny dodge for the reaction? let's see here. Do I have anything similar to that? I think the closest thing would be avoidance, but that's only half damage. Or no, actually, let's see here. It takes no damage instead on a successful. Well, that, you know, that's pretty close. And it's only once per reaction. Very similar, not necessarily similar, but it's close enough, I think. Uncanny dodge to avoidance. So I would suggest using avoidance for uncanny dodge. Oh, population growth. Good to see you, man. Take care. Have a good night, buddy. Thanks for stopping by and requesting the monster. We'll see you later. Joe Math. I know it's on saves. The problem is it's close. It's very similar in concept because let me think here. All right. Here's the thing. Either this or parry would also be very similar. If we look at parry, the creature adds its proficiency bonus to its AC against one melee attack that would hit it as a reaction. So if we use parry as well, they both give you one effective AC. And parry is closer in the idea of you would only parry if you know your bonus is going to stop the attack from hitting. So technically, uncanny dodge would do the same thing. Yeah, that's basically it, Joe Math. So either way, I would say +1 effective AC for uncanny dodge. It does the same thing as what parry or avoidance should do. So we'll go ahead and I'll leave that in for the time being, and let's see what happens when we finish off the monster here. So we have our reaction set. Let's go back to the multi-attack here, and we will do 2 short sword attacks, which will be just that times 2 for a total of 13 points of damage. And then we would do that every round of combat. So let's see what happens here. That times 3. And you're right. You found a CR2, and we're supposed to have a CR3. So what's going on here? What might be the problem? The sneak attack is there for damage, which does give us a whole bunch of damage. And the AC is very low. For a knight, I'm surprised the AC is as low. The AC shouldn't be this low. For a Dark Tide Knight, I would expect some kind of armor. Because currently this person is just swimming around in the ocean with nothing on. Maybe that's the idea. Like, they're just, I don't know. They're like mer people or something. You got me. Well, that's bizarre. I might say... Yeah, this is shortly after damage. Okay. What if we up the AC a little bit? Let's say we give it 15 AC. If we were to up the AC just a little bit and give it 15 so it has some kind of armor on, then we could get ourselves a CR3. That would be a very fast way of fixing the Dark Tide Knight, especially since it already has a very high rating here of, you know, an OCR 4. So we have a striker, and that's where I would like to keep it. I mean, we could possibly add in another short sword attack, but then we're looking at an extra 7 on top of the 6.5, so we're looking at another 13 points of damage, and that might be a little too much. So I would say give it some kind of armor, bringing it up from 13 to 15, and that's the best way to fix the Dark Tide Knight, in my opinion anyways. All right, so let me go back to, let's see here. Oops, 13, there we go. And it's 1/2, 4, and 2. So we'll go ahead and take my notes of that. Dark Tide Knight, okay. 1/2, 4, and 2. Overrated again, surprisingly enough. Quick fix would be +2 AC. I might come up with something else later on, but for the time being, that's good enough, I believe. All right, now let's take a look at the Coatl as Clawpaw had requested. And let's see here. Quaddle. Page 43. So that should be page 44 here. And we've got the celestial creature, flying snake here, the Quaddle. All right, reset that. And we'll jump right into this. All right, so we have a Quaddle, a medium celestial with, let's see here, 19 AC. Oops, what did I do? 19 AC, medium, as I said before. 13 D8 hit dice. Should be a CR4, which I believe it was when I had gone through this the one time before, which is perfectly fine. And then our stats of 16 strength, 20 dex, 17 con, 18 intellect, 20 wisdom, and 18 charisma. That's it for the base information, so let's take a look at the skills area, and we have 3 saving throws of con, wisdom, and charisma. So we'll go ahead and change, not that, but this over here, from 0 to 2 to 3 to 4 to give us +2 effective AC bonus because of all the saving throws. And we'll take a look at the damage resistances and immunities. Now we only have 1 resistance, and that's to radiant damage, which since we only have the 1 condition, we can skip over that. And then take a look at damage immunities. We have psychic, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks. So we go ahead and throw that in to give us 2 times the hit points, really bumping up this flying blessed snake into higher levels of hit points. And as we can see, we're already hitting a DCR of 11 so far. All right, now let's move down into the monster traits here of innate spellcasting, magic weapons, and shielded mind. Now we have a whole bunch of spells in the innate spellcasting. Detect evil and good, detect magic, detect thoughts. Those aren't going to help us. We can skip over that. We do have Bless, Create Food and Water, Cure Wounds, Lesser Restoration, Protection from Poison, Sanctuary, and Shield. Now, the big one right here is Shield. That's going to be very important, and so important, in fact, I added it into the monster traits here. So we'll go ahead and add in the +5 AC for Shield. And then we also have Dream, Greater Restoration, and Scrying. Now, the last 3 aren't going to really help us out at all either. What could help us, if need be, is I believe Sanctuary might be helpful. So let me take a look at that real quick on my side here. Sanctuary. It's a 1st level spell, and it doesn't take concentration, which is nice, and it's also a bonus action. So here's an important thing. We could have the Quaddle casting Sanctuary on a whole bunch of targets, and if Sanctuary is in play, that's going to make things a whole lot harder for the monsters or whoever to hit the targets of Sanctuary. Now, normally, because it has, let's see here, you have to make a wisdom saving throw in order to attack the creature. I might say this would be maybe like +2 or even higher than that. Maybe of a +4 of effective AC. But because of how I've used this with the effective damage per round, I'm only going to give Sanctuary 10 effective DPR. So for the time being, I'm going to add that down here for, let's see here, Sanctuary. I'm going to put that right here. And we'll take a look at that once we get into the rounds of combat and adding that in. Since it is a bonus action, we can use that 3 times. We also have Cure Wounds, which is an action. That would also be considered effective DPR. We are counteracting damage, but something we may not want to add in. And then we also have Bless, which we could use as a means of concentration, since we don't really have a concentration spell set up yet. So Bless could be something else we could add into that. And even though it's adding D4s to for damage and number rolls and whatnot, attack rolls and saving throws, excuse me, not damage, I would also give that, since it's a level 1 spell, +10 effective DPR as well. So we could do, let's see here, Bless 10 EDPR as well. So we have 2 spells that we can cast and concentrate on, giving us extra effective damage per round, because there's no easy way to look at these controlling spells or modifying spells that I've found. It would take some time to really figure that out. All right, so let's see here. we've got some pretty important spells from innate spellcasting, and we can move on to magic weapons. Magic weapons just makes the Quaddle's weapon attacks magical and doesn't affect the CR, surprisingly enough. Lastly, we also have Shielded Mind, and the Quaddle is immune to scrying and other such emotions and other such things that would be able to sense the Quaddle. Again, this is going to be no effect on the CR, so we can skip down into the actions of our Quaddle and take a look at its only, let's see here. Let's take a look at it. We got Bite, Constrict, and Shape Change. Now, let's see here. For the Bite, we have a +8 to hit. And what else have we got going on? This is going to be 1d6 + 5. So that's the dexterity bonus for our Bite attack. On top of that, let's see here. We've got a Constitution save or be poisoned for 24 hours. Until the poison ends, the target is unconscious. Another creature can use an action to shake the target awake. Okay, so this is an atypical poison because it's really throwing players out of commission, but I would suggest because the troglodyte has the aura of stench, and stench gives the poisoned condition, I would say every time the Quaddle bites, in theory, we would also be poisoning someone and they would be failing their Constitution save. That would be dealing the poison condition. So we could say, because stench gives +1 effective AC to, we would expect only 1 melee combatant, we could say 2 tops, because we usually only look at 2 effective. When you're dealing, let me collect my thoughts here. When you're dealing conditions and AoE spells and such, like area effect spells like a fireball, we only expect really 2 during the 3 first rounds of combat. So that's why I'm suggesting that we would probably only get 2 successful poison condition bites. So I would say come down here, add +2 to the AC for the Quaddle for the bite damage, and we can move on from there. On top of that, we also have Constrict, which, let's see here, could grapple, but you can only constrict 1 target at a time. And it's actually, it's a little more damage, but it doesn't hit as well because the bite, I guess, would be dexterity based and the constrict is melee based. So we've got easier to hit, less damage, or harder to hit, more damage. And we could also do a little bit of bludgeoning damage here as well. So let's see. Bludgeoning or constricting, grappling for that. So let's take a look at the bludgeoning or constrict damage here. So we have 2d6, and that is, what do we got? +3. So that came from the strength. So we got our 10 damage from the constrict. And then what do we got after that? The target's grappled, yada yada. Okay. After that, we also have shape change, change shape. And polymorph into a human or beast, and so on and so forth. Okay, it the Quaddle retains game statistics, but it takes an action to use. So I really wouldn't use the change shape. I wouldn't count that in because it's something prior to battle or after battle or what have you. It's something that the Quaddle is allowed to do. So I'm going to skip over change shape and start working out what we might have for damage here. So let's take a look here. We don't have a multi-attack, but we do have some spells to take into account. So I'm going to go right to round 1 of combat. So right off the top, I would say round 1, let's try the bite out and see what happens. And then we could also, as a, let me think here. Sanctuary was a bonus action, right? We have shield as a reaction, which we've already taken that into account. So no, we would first do bless. We want to do that as bless because we're concentrating on that. And we would add that to every round of combat. Then on top of that, we could cast sanctuary on someone or someone else. Who knows? We could do that one way or the other. What did I do wrong here? Oh, right. Because there's text in there. So it would be 10 + 10. So first round of combat, technically we have 20 effective DPR. Second round of combat, we still are concentrating on bless. And then after that, we could do some biting. And that's when we would get the poison condition in as well. And then after that, we could just repeat round 2 by concentrating on Bless or... oh no, yeah, I forgot. We're concentrating on Bless, we're doing a bite, and we're casting Sanctuary as needed. So, when we get done with it, if we do all this stuff with the effective DPR here... One second. Okay. With all the effective DPR from Sanctuary, from Bless, we're looking at a CR9. And this is pretty intense because this is supposed to be a CR4 monster. This is extremely underrated. But there's a quick fix for this. And the quick fix is ignoring damage immunities. So if everything's still done correctly, this should be... Oh no, it's only a CR6. I think if it only does the bites... Let me go back to doing the bites itself. Okay. So we do the bite times 3. No, we have a CR. I thought the quick fix was removing immunities because that worked out last time. I don't know what I've done different. Oh, wait. Let's see here. Let's get rid of the extra AC from... No, we would keep the extra AC from the poison. Or did I not add that in last time? Oh, yeah, I didn't add that in last time. Okay. So there's really no... Yeah, very CR4-ish. Right, Clawpaw. So because last time I did the Quaddle, that's why I wanted to redo the Quaddle, because I didn't add in the poison condition and the extra AC of basically knocking out someone from combat and making combat easier for the side the Quaddle's on. Even without damage immunities, we're looking at a CR5 and slightly overrated, or underrated, excuse me. So if we have the damage immunities, and more than likely at this level, that's going to happen, we're going to see some nasty stuff going on here. At roughly, you know what, let me go back a couple steps here and put all that back in. Yeah, we're looking at a CR9 once it's all in place. Hey, Lorendar, how's it going, buddy? Let me get to that question in just a minute here. I'm just going to restore that. Okay, so in the new form, the Quaddle retains its game statistics and ability to speak, but its AC, movement, modes, strength, dexterity, and other actions are replaced by those of the new form. And it gains any statistics and capabilities except class features. I don't believe so. I don't believe they get the new hit points. And I noticed that with the Archdruid. When you look at the Archdruid's change shape ability, they keep their hit points. They're not like player druids that can get fresh hit points. It's really bizarre. So yeah, it would keep its hit points except for its AC, movement modes, and strength dex. So no, technically change shape wouldn't give it any extra hit points just from, you know, read as written here from the raw. Oh, yeah, the flyby D&D honeys, flyby has no effect. If you go into the DMG in the custom monster section and you go down to flyby, there's nothing there for it. It's just a slash. It doesn't have any effect on the CR, but we'll still look at it now that we're done here with the Quaddle, which is heavily underrated with all these abilities. I'm going to redo this as a video, and I was supposed to do it last week instead of the Archmage, but I was like, nah, I'll look at this later on. So the Quaddle, so printed CR4, probably more like a CR9, especially with all the controlling spells that it has of, you know, Sanctuary and Bless and all the healing and everything. It's brutal. So I'm going to go in here and actually update that. Because I know I had the Quaddle. I had it something else entirely different. So let's see here. 15, 3, and 9. So this is a heavy tank for sure. Controlling tank style play for this character. 15, 3. There we go. 3 and 9. Need to update the quick fix for this one. Flyby has no effect, laughs in Zaza flying snake pet. And yes, the sky snake looked sussy. Oh yeah, Lorindar can vouch for the trauma of the flying snake with my cousin, who had an unfortunate character fall, technically, to the flying snake. Okay, let me pull that up for Fizzbands. Let's see here. Okay, I don't have a booklet ready, but I do have a side thing. So you just have to go with me here, because I'm not going to be using... So for Fizzbands, I'm just going to give the information out. I'll tell you what it is, but I don't have a book for it. So the Dragonelle will be done on the side here. But if you have the book, please, by all means, follow along. At least an honorable death against the flying snake. Yeah, it was, what was it? 2 level 2 characters. I had a DM PC of a favored soul sorcerer, along with her Aarakocra monk that was going to go into the Circle of the Sun Soul, I believe it was, or the Order of the Sun Soul. And then I put up 2 or 3 flying snakes to fight, because it was supposed to be a CR 1/2 or 1/4 or 1/8. I don't remember exactly what it was, and did not end well with that poison. Oh, that poison really ended that pretty quick. All right, so the Dragonelle from Fizzbands. I don't have the book on hand, but I do have an outside resource on my other screen. You'll just have to bear with me or follow along if you have the book or other means of watching along. And if you'd like, it's on page 190. So the Dragonelle is a large dragon. So we'll go ahead and modify that with, let's see here, 13 AC and 9d10 hit dice. Should be a CR2. It was a one-sided stomping. Yeah, it really was. Oh, man. Okay, the Dragonelle's stats are as such: 16 strength, 15 dex, 12 constitution, 8 intellect, 13 wisdom, and 10 charisma. After that, we have all the base information out of the way, and we have nothing going on in the skill section besides perception for a skill, blind sight, dark vision, and a passive perception. It has languages of Draconic and Common, but can't speak, and is a CR2 with a proficiency bonus of 2. After that, we have Flyby, which the Dragonelle doesn't provoke an opportunity attack when it flies out of the enemy's reach. As I stated before, Flyby actually has no effect on the CR. So we can actually skip over that and go right into the attacks for our little Dragonelle. Well, large Dragonelle here. Looks like the picture has someone riding on the dragon back. I don't know. All right, whatever. Anyways, so it has a multi-attack of 2 rend attacks. And the rend has a +5 to hit. So we'll go ahead and add that in. And then we can go and take a look at the damage here. So it's 2d6 + 3 coming from strength. Sure enough, we have 10. And then we have 2 multi-attacks. So in the multi-attack section, we'll just go ahead and multiply that times 2 for 20. And then 20 for 3 rounds of combat. Times that by 3. And sure enough, we have ourselves a CR2 Dragonelle. Nice and simple, very clean. It's an accurate striker because the final OCR is a little bit higher, technically lower on the graph here, but it's a little higher than the expected. Because of that +5, it gives us the +1 bump up from the OCR of 2, which makes it now a 3. And then our hit points are only a DCR of 1/2. So not very tanky, and definitely shouldn't be in the line of battle, or it's going to fall pretty quick, especially if there are archers around. Fire Emblem. So we have an even rated Dragonelle at CR2, thankfully. Nice and quick. Let me take a note of that. And let me see here. It was 1. Oh, printed is 2. 1/2, 3, and 2. Even rated. Good enough. Okay. We still have time for another 1 or 2 monsters, depending on how quick we get through that. Anyone else have any recommendations? Let's see here. Clawpaw. That such a good villain anti-hero backstory for you, Andrew. Oh, so that's why you started exposing CRs. Basically, there are many, many monsters that I've used unknowingly that just ended up doing way too much damage. And something was like, hey, this isn't right. And I had to start taking a look at these things and started working out my own custom monsters. And then eventually I started checking checking out what D&D was putting out. And sure enough, some of these monsters are just really obscene, as we've seen. Let's see here. D&D Honeys. I think that these things are really banking on being ridden by people. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Just from the picture I'm seeing alone for the Dragonelle, looks like there's some kind of a knight riding it on the, riding this creature into battle. So with a flying speed of 60 feet, definitely would be awesome, especially if you had the mounted combatant feat and not being, helping the mount out so it doesn't get attacked by damage and whatnot. For sure, D&D Honeys. All right, if no one has any recommendations, I have a couple monsters on standby that were requested by other people, and we can take a look at those if need be, while I still have some time here. Because the stream will end roughly around 11. Because I've got to get to bed. Let's see here. What do I have that could be interesting? Oh, the Hobgoblin Warlord could be fun. That's a good one to potentially look at. If no one speaks up or says anything, I will... Oh, let's see here. What do you got? What do you got, Lorindar? I got one I'm curious about. The Nurtured One of Urtris from Volos. Okay, let me pull that up here. Orc Nurtured One of Urtris. Page 184. Awesome. Okay. Let me pull that off to the side. And pull up Volos. Let's see here. And let me see. What is that? That says 1/2. Ooh. Oh, I think I know what these ones are all about. Ooh, come here. Come on. Oh, what am I doing? Come on. There we go. VGM, page 184. Cool. $185. There we go. Yeah, I think I know what's going on here. All right, perfect. Looks like I got everything there. Let's pop over here. And let's see here. Orc Hand of Urtris. Urtris. Yeah, they splode. Let's see. So we've got ourselves, after resetting and removing all that down there. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, what am I looking at? Orc Nurtured One, Orc Hand. Oh, I'm looking at the Orc Hand. Oh, there we go. Wrong monster. Perfect. I almost looked at the wrong one. Okay, Orc Nurtured One of Urtris, not the other one. So this should be a 1/2. And it's got, let's see here, AC of 9. It's a medium with 4d8 hit dice. And let's look at stats. 15 strength, 8 dex, 16 constitution, 7 intellect, 11 wisdom, and 7 charisma. Oh yeah, the slow fall for the mounts for sure. Okay. Now that we've got our base stats out of the way for the Orc Nurtured One, let's take a look. We've got nothing for skills to worry about. And we can actually move into the monster traits for this orc. We've got aggressive, which only adds a meager +2 DPR, which just allows the ogre to move up to its speed as a bonus action, which is helpful, and especially since they explode. And then what else have we got? We've got Corrupted Carrier. Oh, I love these creeper mechanics. Really adds a little finish move touch to the monster. Yes, let's see what happens. When the orc is reduced to 0 hit points, it explodes, and any creature within 10 feet of it must make a DC 13 con save On a failed save, the creature takes 14 poison damage and becomes poisoned. On a success, the creature takes half as much damage and isn't poisoned. Creature poisoned by the effect can repeat the saving at the end of its turn. And then while poisoned by this effect, a creature can't regain hit points. Oh, that's dirty. Alright, so I'm coming back over here. Corrupted Carrier is basically Death Burst. It's the same thing. And because it's an AoE, we're going to expect 2 targets and 2 failed saves. So we're going to say 14 times 2 for a total of 18 effective DPR at that last round of combat. Let's see here. Use something like this on zombies with acid explosion on a spooky one-shot. Oh, that's dirty. But that's a really good way to change up the zombies too. All right, and then lastly, now that we have Corrupted Carrier out of the way, since it's very much the same as Death Burst, we have the Nurtured One of Yurtrus. The orc has advantage on saving throws against poison and disease. Well, that's only 2 conditions, so I'm going to suggest that this is got no effect because basically with magic resistance, it's every spell. And this is only two saves and 2 conditions. So I'm not going to say this is going to give us anything. If it doesn't come up right and it's less than a 1/2 somehow, I would then say, all right, maybe it's +1. Maybe we can do magic resistance or give it 1 at least. But we'll come to that little molehill when we get there. So now that the monster traits are done, let's move into the actions. And for our actions, we have Claws and Corrupted Vengeance. So for the first, we have a Claws of +4 to hit, which is pretty typical. A little better to hit with, but doesn't really modify our attacks. And if you're watching my graph, we're already seeing some things going on here. And we haven't even gotten into actual damage. After that, we've got, let's see here. We got our +4 to hit. And then we have, let's see here, 4 damage from slashing +2 from necrotic damage. So that would just be 1d4 there. And +2 from its strength mod. And then that would also be 2d4 for the necrotic damage. For 5 there. Alright, so that'll be attack number 1. This is already going to be terrible. I can see this. Oh man. And then Corrupted Vengeance. The orc reduces itself to 0 hit points, triggering its Corrupted Carrier trait. Oh, that's not even right. So it just, seppuku's. Goes ahead and commits seppuku, and then it explodes even sooner than need be. So we could definitely say at the end of round 3, the Corrupted Carrier is going to do its damage. So let's take go ahead and take round 1 here of 9.5 and times it by only 2. Because on round 3, we would do Corrupted Vengeance and Explode. So times 2, we're looking at an OCR, we're looking at an OCR of 3, a DCR of 0, probably even less than that, and a CR of 2. This is pretty rough. I mean, it's only 2 steps, but when players are, level 2 players are probably fighting one of these 1-to-1, oh, they're done for. They're really done for. So what happens if we only have 1 target hit by the Death Burst? Well, let's take off the multiplies times 2. And now we have a CR of 1. Still underrated. How do we get this completely even? Probably not Death Bursting, which is pretty sad. So let's multiply that by 3. And then remove the Death Burst. And sure enough, there's our quick fix. Don't use the Corrupted Carrier trait, and you have yourself a CR 1/2 monster. But if you Death Burst, it's going to be bad. We're already looking at, CR 1, and then on top of that, if 2 players get hit by that, and on top of that, we're not even using the poison condition, which would then leave them. I mean, technically the creature's dead, so I wouldn't even put in the extra AC for poisoned because, they exploded. So there's no point in adding it beyond that. So if you use the monster as it's written and you do the Corrupted Carrier, we have a CR of 2, which, obviously we have a striker here with the OCR 4, and like I said, dismal defensive rating. So this is what they're all about, just running in headfirst and exploding. And there we go. Let me take a note of this one here, of what I found of 0, 4, and 2 on a CR1 half. Underrated, quick fix. Don't use corrupted carrier. But then again, what's the point of using it then if you don't use the corrupted carrier? Use it as a CR2 then. That's my, the quick fix is great and all, but in most cases I would recommend using it at the CR that it was found. Let's see here. Why is everyone always troubling themselves for fixing a CR? Just change the CRs. True. That's the main idea. A lot of people, I think, want to use it as it's printed so they don't have to bother with looking up what the new value is. I personally would probably just stick with whatever it is and just use it at the new rating. That's primarily what I do in most cases. Sometimes I will, if it's something simple, I will just tweak it. Like when I'm on roll 20, I'll tweak it to what I found for the quick fix. But beyond that, I usually just stick with whatever the actual rating is. And that is it for tonight. I will, we've only got about a minute left, but that was fun. Looking at the monsters here tonight, we had a whole bunch of monsters of, let's see here, let's get back to what did we cover? We had the Balgura, the Dark Tide Knight, the Quaddle, the Dragonelle, and the Orc Nurtured one of Urtrus. Big old explodey boy. So thank you all for joining me. It was a lot of fun having everyone here, especially some newcomers with the D&D Honeys, which I just met them today. They happened to come across my videos, and I checked out some of theirs. And some good stuff. Yes, it was pretty creamy today. I'd like to thank, let's see here, Population Growth, Joe Math, D&D Honeys, Lorindar, and Clawpaw as always for joining me on tonight's live stream. It was so much fun. Yeah, speed run on some of these for sure. I always like to at least get 4 to 5 monsters if it can be. Yes, thank you, Clawpaw. I appreciate everyone that comes and joins me. It's been a lot of fun. Ah, yes, D&D Honeys. Yes, you really don't want to be within 10 feet when they die, but depending on if the characters are metagaming or not, who knows? In theory, only one will get hit, but it's a 10-foot range, so maybe 2 will get hit. Who knows? But anyways, yes. Thank you all for joining me. You've been amazing, and this is me, Andrew, asking, are your encounters even rated? Have a good night, everyone, and I'll catch you next time.